I started to be bothered by the thought that my mother no longer loved my father. I put the thought of it out of my mind and returned to the list. 1001, salt sea air. 1002, aromatic duck pancakes with hoisin sauce. It's common for the children of suicides to blame themselves. It's natural. 1003, sunlight. But just because it's a natural response doesn't mean there's no truth in it. 1004. I posted the list anonymously to my mother. A week later, I found it on my desk, neatly folded, back in its envelope. I still don't know whether or not she had read it. It certainly hadn't seemed to change her outlook. I began leaving notes around the house, stuck to various things. On her mirror was 1,760 kittens. On the kettle, 3,675 Marlon Brando. And on her bed, 11 bed. Every night I'd return to my room to find a neat pile of small custard yellow squares of paper, each with a number and a word. I got more inventive, writing on the inside of cereal packets or shoes, carving words into fruit, or painstakingly arranging her alphabet in spaghetti. Last year, when I finally moved the last of my stuff out of the house, I found a few. 21,304 hammocks. Inside the lid of some mustard. 630 cheese and pickle sandwiches, stenciled onto a coat hanger. At university, the list took on a life of its own. People were constantly asking if they could read it, add to it, photocopy it. Over the years, the list grew to several thousand entries, then to several thousand pages. The document was scrawled all over with different handwriting and in different colours, with exclamation marks, underlining, asterisks, footnotes, amendments, drawings, and even the odd diagram. People would read through it, sometimes in groups, and their faces would light up. They would read the occasional one out and laugh or nod emphatically, and they'd say something like, "That's so true," or "Wow, yeah, I forgot about that." It became a useful screening device for prospective partners. Either they got the list, or they didn't. If they didn't, they could sod off. For a while, the list lost its way. The reason for it had long since been forgotten in its unending appetite for wonderful things. It had meandered towards novelty, running joke, or obsession. But now, as it was nearing 1 million entries, it suddenly became important again. I began to type it up. A huge task, particularly as every day my inbox was full of suggestions and additions. 826,976 cartoons, brackets, in particular Sunday morning cartoons, close brackets. 826,977 Gandhi. 826,978 snow. I wasn't around for the last time. I was in Australia with work. When I got the call, I was on the beach. Dad wasn't around either. A neighbour complained about the exhaust fumes, and eventually the police cut through the garage door. Hose piped through the driver's side window. That surprised me, actually, because my mum hated driving. She had poor circulation, would always complain about her ankles on long journeys. It's such a masculine way to choose to die, I think. The car radio was on. I assumed tuned to Radio 4 or Classic FM or something. There was a pad and a pencil on the passenger seat, but she hadn't written anything. The hole in the garage door remained right up until my dad moved last year. I drove my father to the funeral. We sat in silence. He smoked with the window down. It wasn't a shock. It wasn't a relief. It was more like a betrayal. Abandonment. During the service, I realised how much the list had changed the way I see the world. I kept noticing things to add to it. 999,976, bird song. 999,977, hugging. 999,978, tea and biscuits. 999,979, alcohol. 999,980, conversation. That night I completed the list. I typed up the last few hundred additions, printed it out, and left it in my father's chair. He never mentioned it directly, but when we spoke a few weeks after the funeral, he thanked me, and he said, "I love you." And I told him that sentimentality didn't suit him. 999,997 avocados. 999,998 being smiled at. 999,999 completing a task. 1 million listening to a new record for the first time, turning it over in your hands, placing it on the deck, putting the needle down, hearing the faint hiss and crackle of the sharp metal point on the wax before the music begins, and then sitting and listening whilst reading through the sleep notes. thank you all for coming along today. I'm sure you're going to say a few words, but well done on being here. This is exactly the sort of thing that makes Latitude quite a cool, funky little festival. Well done on being part of it.
That applause,